Hi, I'm Jillian Kay. I'm a junior broadcast journalism major, and today I'm speaking with New York Times best-selling author, Taylor Jenkins Reid. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Where do your ideas for your novels come from? Because they're all so unique in their own way.
Well, thank you for saying that. It's they come from a lot of different places. It's sort of hard to pin down or answer any definitive way. I think I'm always just looking for characters that intrigue me, settings that I find interesting, and it seems to be there's a period of time, and I'm about to release my eighth book, and so I've started to get a sense of how my brain works. I won't think about a book or a concept of a book until the last book is done. And so it seems to be that there's this period of time where I've just finished a book and I think, oh, I have no idea what's coming next. But then once that book is done, I find the ideas start to roll in. So I think it's just whatever catches my eye during that period of time tends to be what path I head down next.
That's so interesting. And what about your creative process? How do you put a book together? What does that look like?
Well, I decide on what I'm going to write about. Most of the time now, that requires me to settle on a particular setting, a time and a place. Normally, if I'm doing my job right, it should be something that I know nothing about, and but something that calls to me in a way that makes me want to go there in my mind. And so I settle on what I'm going to do. I set a date for about a 4 to 6 week research period of time, which is when I'm watching movies that are in the same space, reading books that are in the same space, doing a lot of research about the things that I don't know. And during that period of time, I start to get ideas about what the story will be. And so then I sit down and I say, okay, my first draft, I'm going to start on this day. I want to have it done by this day. There are this many working days in that period of time. So you do some very rudimentary math and figure out how many words you need to write in order a day in order to make that happen. And so I stick pretty firmly to that schedule, whether it's a first draft, second draft, third draft. It's all just a matter of how many words you do a day in order to get it done by your deadline.
Tell me about your new book coming out this year. Carrie Soto is back. Critics are calling it your most vulnerable and emotional story yet. So tell me
Yeah.
about that and who or what inspired you to write it.
Well, when I finished my last book, Malibu Rising, I was in the editing period and it was almost done. And there are two tennis players in that book. And I remember thinking, oh, I really wish that I could write a book about tennis. Now, I'm not a sports person, and I don't think I mean, like, I don't watch any of them at all. But I do like when sports are used in a narrative structure. Like, I loved Friday Night Lights and I loved watching the football in Friday Night Lights. I'm never going to watch a football game, but I was heavily invested in those scenes on the field. Um, so I just thought I would love to write a story about tennis. And then what occurred to me was that I could, if I wanted to do that, and I had two characters already here that I could tell that story with, one of whom was named Brandon Randall, and I just didn't have a lot of interest in him, and people that have read that book will know why. But Carrie Soto, who is in Malibu Rising, did call to me. She's a difficult person, and she is hard edged and sort of cold, and um, makes some pretty significant mistakes in Malibu Rising. And so the idea of revisiting her in the future, after she is no longer the number one women's tennis player in the world, what does that look like? What does it look like when Carrie Soto's not number one? And so the book is about a woman who needs to believe that she is the greatest tennis player in the world and has proven that over time that she is. So what happens when somebody shows up who might be an even better player than her? How does she handle that? And what Carrie does is return to the WTA and try to claim her record back.
As an athlete, that's really inspiring to hear. I like that a lot. And I guess related to that, you mentioned that Carrie Soto also shows up in another one of your books. I noticed that you do this a lot in a lot of your work. How do you keep track of all the many characters you create?
Oh, that's very easy. That they're all they seem very, very real to me. It's like asking me, how do you keep track of all your brothers and sisters? It's like, no, they live in my head. I visit them from time to time, which is a very woo-woo thing to say. But, when you spend such a long time where the only voices that you hear, I mean, my day-to-day is very, very quiet. It's just me and a page. And so when I'm writing about Evelyn Hugo, I'm writing her, I'm hearing her voice in my head for months and months and months on end. You start to get a sense of her that never really goes away. And I feel that way about Daisy and Billy, and I feel that way about Nina and the rest of the Rivas. So what's fun about tying these worlds together is that it starts to ask the question, how do these people interact when you never actually see them within the same text? And so the question of, there's a big difference between the way Evelyn approaches the world versus how Daisy does versus how Nina does. What would they think of each other? How does that world play out if they were to ever run into one another? That's the stuff that gets really fun to me.
Absolutely, and it's fun as a reader to read it.
Well, good.
And you mentioned Evelyn Hugo, so I have to give a little shout out to the 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo here. I'm harnessing the Evelyn Hugo look today. An absolutely phenomenal book. After this interview, you'll be participating in a panel discussion, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, and you'll be talking about your experience getting published. That's so exciting. So what does it mean to you to be able to share your experiences and advice with other Emersonians?
That's a good question. I think that what most people who go to Emerson are trying to do is enter a field that's very competitive and very difficult, and they're trying to share their voice in whatever capacity that may be, whether it's writing, directing, filmmaking, whether you want to be an on-set producer. I think it's really daunting, and I think it's scary, and I think it takes guts. And so it does excite me to be able to say that there is a way forward, and that, you are going to, whether it's you're coming out to Hollywood, you're going to New York, you're staying there, you're going to 1,000 places. There's a lot of fun experiences that await you in these fields. And I know that it can be daunting leaving college and what are you going to do next, and how is this all going to work out for you? But it has been some time since I have graduated college, and looking back on it, it's always an adventure. And so I'm excited to share that perspective.
I like that a lot. Well, Taylor, that's all the questions I have for you today. Do you have anything that I didn't ask that you'd like to share?
No, just thank you so much for having me. It's exciting to get to sort of go back in time and remember when I was a college student. It seems like forever ago, but this was a very nice, jog down memory lane.
Well, here at Emerson, we really appreciate you coming back, giving back. We really appreciate that. So thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye, Taylor.
Bye.